Right now, as you're watching this, Prince Harry is on British soil. Not for a royal engagement, not for a charity appearance, not for a casual family visit. He's there because something has detonated behind the scenes. Something so explosive that the man who spent years trashing his own family on Netflix suddenly needs their protection. And the reason Ghislaine Maxwell is talking from her prison cell in Florida. The woman who once held the secrets of the world's most powerful men has decided that silence no longer serves her. According to sources close to the situation, Maxwell has begun dropping names, and one of them is sending shock waves through Montecito. Meghan Markle, not as the Duchess of Sussex, not as the humanitarian activist she brands herself as today, but as a figure from a completely different world, a world of private yachts, invitation-only parties, and circles that intersected directly with Jeffrey Epstein's network. The term being whispered is yacht days. And if you don't know what that means, you're about to. This isn't about a jealous tabloid trying to tear down a powerful woman. This is about photographs that won't stay deleted, timelines that don't add up, and a pattern that keeps repeating itself across multiple royal families. Harry knows what's coming. He's seen what Maxwell is capable of exposing. And right now, he's calculating whether his wife's past can survive what happens when prison walls stop protecting reputations. But to understand why Harry's running, we need to go back to when Meghan was nobody. Ghislaine Maxwell is currently serving 20 years in federal prison, and she has absolutely nothing left to lose. No empire to protect, no billionaire to shield, no future to negotiate. And when someone in that position decides to talk, people listen because they have zero incentive to lie anymore. According to multiple sources who claim knowledge of statements Maxwell has made, she's begun referencing names from her past, names connected to the social architecture she and Epstein built across decades. One of those names is Meghan Markle, referenced not as a duchess, but as someone who moved through the same elite circles during a very specific window of time, the mid-200s, before the engagement, before the fame, when she was a cable actress nobody recognized. Maxwell allegedly described a network that placed young women into proximity with wealthy, powerful men, not randomly, strategically. These weren't casting calls or modeling gigs in the traditional sense. They were social placements. You attend the right opening. You're photographed at the right event. You're invited onto the right yacht. And suddenly, doors open that would never open otherwise. The term yacht girl isn't new, but it's deliberately vague, designed to sound glamorous while obscuring what actually happens on those floating estates where phones are collected at the door and guest lists are never published. Maxwell allegedly claims Meghan was part of that circuit, moving through spaces where discretion was currency and anonymity was protection until the moment it wasn't. And she's not just talking, she has receipts. For years, certain photographs have played a digital game of whack-a-mole. They appear online, then vanish. They resurface on forums, then get scrubbed. They show up in archives, then suddenly become unlicensable. According to sources tracking these images, they depict Meghan Markle at events and in environments that directly contradict the carefully constructed narrative of her pre-royal life. These aren't paparazzi shots from a grocery store. These are images from private gatherings, exclusive parties, and social events where the guest list read like a directory of Epstein's known associates. The locations matter. New York during periods when Prince Andrew was in the city. Soho House openings attended by financiers with documented Epstein connections. Environments where Jeffrey Epstein himself was known to be present, even if he's not in every frame. What makes these images dangerous isn't just who appears in them. It's the effort that's been made to erase them. Getty Images, one of the world's largest photo archives, allegedly restricted access to certain Meghan Markle images without public explanation. Licensing that was previously available suddenly wasn't. Searches that once returned results began returning nothing. When institutions move to memory hole material rather than address it, they're admitting something: that the material matters. That it changes the story. That it reveals proximity people would prefer stayed theoretical. But here's the thing about the internet. Nothing actually disappears. Too many people saved copies. Too many witnesses remember what they saw. And now that Maxwell is talking, those images aren't just resurfacing, they're being recontextualized. Because these parties weren't just parties, they were auditions. If you want to understand how an unknown cable actress ends up in rooms with billionaires and royalty, you need to understand Soho House. On the surface, it's a private members club for creatives. Trendy, artsy, harmless. But behind that branding, it functioned as something else entirely. A corridor between worlds, between Hollywood and finance, between nobodies and power, between anonymity and access. In 2015, Meghan Markle was flown to Istanbul for a Soho House opening. She wasn't the headliner. She wasn't even particularly famous yet. According to sources, she was what insiders call social filler. Someone present to make the room look good, to populate the event, to maintain atmosphere. But these openings weren't random parties. They were magnets for exactly the kind of people you'd expect at an Epstein-adjacent gathering. Wealthy men who valued discretion, royalty-adjacent figures, Hollywood power brokers who understood that real deals happen in private, not on red carpets. And here's where the question started. Even back then, colleagues from Meghan's television work privately wondered how she was affording this lifestyle. International flights, premium accommodations, a level of mobility that didn't match her acting income. No one asked out loud because in those circles, you don't. You just notice. You just remember. And years later, when she's suddenly a duchess, those memories start looking very different. Because Soho House wasn't just where Meghan socialized. It's where Prince Andrew socialized. It's where Epstein's circle overlapped with British royalty, with Hollywood, with everyone who mattered. The same rooms, the same events, the same windows of time. And the timeline, that's where it gets really messy. February 2016. According to the official fairy tale, this is when Harry and Meghan first met. Set up by a mutual friend for a blind date in London. Romantic, spontaneous fate. Except according to sources tracking Meghan's movements during this exact period, February 2016 is also when she participated in what's known as a yacht week. Not a cruise, not a vacation. A yacht week. If you're not familiar with the term, it refers to invitation-only excursions where wealthy patrons bring along female companions for week-long trips on luxury vessels. These aren't advertised. There are no public records. Phones are discouraged. Discretion is absolute. And the women who attend aren't there as tourists. They're there as atmosphere, as entertainment, as companions who understand that what happens on the yacht stays on the yacht. Sources claim Meghan was on one of these trips during the exact window when she supposedly met her future husband for the first time. Now, maybe both things happened. Maybe she flew back midweek for a blind date, then returned to the yacht. Maybe the timelines overlap but don't contradict. Or maybe the origin story we've been sold is a sanitized version of something that actually began in a very different environment. And here's why this matters beyond just Meghan. She's not the only woman who followed this path. Sofia of Sweden, now Princess Sofia, has a documented past in glamour modeling and party circuits with sources alleging connections to Epstein-linked social environments as early as 2005. Mette Mareid of Norway publicly apologized in 2019 for maintaining a friendship with Jeffrey Epstein, calling it poor judgment. Both women married into royalty. Both had inconvenient pasts that were quietly absorbed once they had crowns to protect them. Pattern recognition isn't conspiracy theory. It's paying attention. And once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. But it gets worse because lawyers notice. 2. Virginia Giuffre, one of Jeffrey Epstein's most prominent accusers, the woman who brought down Prince Andrew, almost called Meghan Markle as a witness, not as a defendant, as a witness. And the distinction matters because witnesses aren't accused of wrongdoing. They're positioned as people who might have seen something, heard something, or understood what was actually happening behind closed doors. According to court-related sources, there were 3 specific reasons Meghan was considered for testimony in the civil case against Prince Andrew. First, she resided in the United States, making jurisdiction straightforward. Second, she was described as having been a close associate of Prince Andrew during a specific period of time, not a casual acquaintance, an associate. And third, most critically, she was said to have been present within Jeffrey Epstein's social environment during active years of abuse. In legal terms, that's not an accusation. It's a geographic and temporal placement. You were in the room. You were at the events. You traveled in the same circles during the same years when crimes were being committed. What did you see? What did you hear? Who did you meet? Those are the questions witnesses answer. Ultimately, Meghan was not called to testify. But the fact that her name entered that legal consideration at all changed everything. It meant that people who actually investigate these networks, people with subpoena power and depositions and sworn testimony, looked at Meghan Markle's past and thought she might know something. It meant the connection wasn't theoretical. It was documented enough to reach legal thresholds. And now with Maxwell talking, with images resurfacing, with the pattern becoming undeniable, Harry knows exactly what his wife might have been asked under oath. And now, with Maxwell talking, Harry knows what's coming. So, here we are. Prince Harry, the man who sat with Oprah and claimed his family was racist, who produced a Netflix series dragging his relatives through the mud, who wrote a memoir trashing everyone from his father to his brother, has suddenly fled back to the United Kingdom. Not for reconciliation, for protection. Because whatever Maxwell is saying, whatever images are circulating, whatever witnesses are comparing notes, Harry understands something fundamental. His wife's past is about to collide with his present. And when that happens, every bridge he burned is going to matter. The royal family has spent centuries managing scandals. They have lawyers, fixers, media connections, and institutional power that can make problems disappear or at least get buried under layers of plausible deniability. Harry walked away from all of that. He called them toxic. He accused them of cruelty. And now he needs them because Montecito publicists can't handle what's coming. This isn't a tabloid hit piece. This isn't jealous trolls on Twitter. This is a convicted sex trafficker naming names from prison. And one of those names is attached to the woman Harry chose over his family. The impossible position he's in is almost Shakespearean. Does he defend Meghan and insist her past is irrelevant, knowing it destroys their entire victim narrative? How can you claim the institution was cruel to you when you might have brought institutional risk through the door? Or does he quietly distance himself, protect his children, salvage what's left of his royal connection before the association becomes completely toxic? Right now, sources say he's in damage control mode, meeting with palace advisors, consulting legal teams, trying to figure out how to survive what happens when the story goes mainstream. Because if Maxwell keeps talking, this doesn't end with a news cycle. The thing about secrets is they only stay buried as long as everyone involved benefits from silence. But Maxwell doesn't benefit anymore. She's already serving 2 decades. Her empire is gone. Her protection is gone. And every day she sits in that cell is another day she has to decide whether the people who walked free should stay comfortable. If she keeps talking, if more names drop, if more witnesses decide they're tired of carrying secrets that protect powerful people, this story doesn't just damage Meghan. It unravels everything the Sussexes have built. The brand deals evaporate. Netflix doesn't renew. Spotify already walked away. Dior doesn't want controversy. No major corporation wants to be associated with someone whose name appears in the same sentence as Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, and Yacht Circuit, even if no charges ever materialize. Perception is reality in their world. And the perception is currently in freefall. But here's the question that actually matters, the one that keeps Harry up at night. What did he know? And when did he know it? Did Meghan tell him about her past before the wedding, giving him the choice to proceed with full information? Or did she let him walk into a minefield blind, assuming her past was buried deeply enough that it would never surface? Because if he knew, he's complicit in the cover-up. And if he didn't know, he's a fool who got played by someone willing to risk the entire monarchy for personal elevation. Either way, the fairy tale is over. This isn't about gossip anymore. This isn't about jealous commentators or racist tabloids. This is about who was in the room when crimes were happening, who saw what, who knew what, and whether the woman who married into the world's most famous family brought institutional risk that no amount of PR can ever fully erase. The record stopped being editable. And what comes next? That's what Harry's trying to control before it controls him.